in Montpellier, right? We went to like France for Pro League.
Mm-hmm.
It was like there was a after party from the hotel. It was like 2 hour walk, right? And it was like in the 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning. It was like just completely dark. And Dexter and I walked from the after party to hotel just together, like next to beach, right? It was like kind of romantic, but no homo, right? It's like bro romantic, romantic.
Okay, welcome back to Geographically Challenged. This is episode 10. How exciting. We've made it all the way to 10 episodes. And, well, we've got Bleh back, at least. This is going to be the first episode that Pilski misses, unfortunately. But what is fortunate is that we have an excellent replacement and someone that can't seem to contain his laughter. I don't know why.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's a good start. I like
It's a great start. We're all happy. I mean, Erkast, he's just drunk a Red Bull, so it's crazy.
Your faces are just doing some weird shapes, if you know what I mean, because of the video call, and it's just making funny faces. And you told me to look at the Skype, and I'm just like looking at this. Oh my god!
All right, well, that aside, that's Erkast. It's great to have you on.
No, John, he's getting hysterical because they didn't get the ESL spot, so they're he's just losing his shit.
You just gotta take joy in any sort of small thing in your life, and shit keeps being thrown at you. Anyway, that's one of the more fun starts to a video that we've ever had, I guess. Either way, let's dive straight into the discussion topics for today. Now, there hasn't actually been all that much to talk about within the Asia region over the last couple of over the last week, right? Because we had that massive. You're good. You're gonna have to stop, mate. I can't.
Okay. I'm gonna mute myself until I talk. Okay.
No. It'll look weird otherwise. He's just laughing and no sounds coming out. Oh, we haven't even started yet.
We literally haven't even started the episode. I need to take my jump off. It's getting too hot.
Yeah, it's getting too hot, man.
Well, you shouldn't have had that Red Bull, man, because like now you're getting hyperactive.
Maybe it's the Red Bull. I don't know why. I'm just like laughing so much.
All right. Let's start the episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo, serious face on. Counter-Strike time.
Yeah, let's talk about some Counter-Strike. There hasn't actually been that much of it in the last week or so because we did the big episode last week and...
Okay.
I might actually have to start this again. I feel like.
No, you gotta keep it.
No, I'm full.
All right, we'll keep it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
This is a total tangent, and again, this is going to stop us from getting into the video because I know this is going to send Erkast into another giggle fit. This actually reminds me of a video you did with Grayhound when you went to the minor, and you were like looking at the camera, and you're like, "This is serious time," and then you would just start losing your shit. So
I miss those ads. Those are some good ads though, like super low production quality, but it just got me laughing. Good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move into the serious discussion now, and to start things off, like I said, there's not been that much actually going on in Asia over the last week or so. We did that big episode last week with all of the drama and the news for the last couple of weeks, and things are actually a little bit quiet right now within Asia. So there's not too much to touch on. We won't really spend too much time here. First off of the rank is the Huya Darkhorse League, which is another one of these sort of domestic Asia tournaments. Not too big of a deal. We don't really have any of the top teams in Asia competing in that. But from what I can see so far, Bleh, it seems like things are pretty much going as we would expect. Invictus Gaming coming out first in their group, or in the group. 1-3's up there. D13's having a decent performance. And I think the most interesting thing to actually talk about here is JMT, which is the Weibo team. That's what they're actually called. Are not really performing quite so amazingly at the moment. They're 2-6 in this league, and I guess for them it's still good enough to get into playoffs. But at the moment they're probably not setting the world on fire with these initial results.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, I'm not really surprised there. Apart from, I mean, that is the one with Forsaken, right? The Xr's younger brother. And you look at that name and you're like, okay, that's good. But apart from that, my memory's failing me at the moment. But I do remember looking at the other names in that lineup and being like, these aren't guys who haven't done anything special, right? I think Forsaken being in the lineup is the only reason for me personally that I have paid any attention to their recent results. And for him, it is, for those of you like, probably watching for the first time, or newer viewers coming in, Forsaken is not that Forsaken. We're talking about ex-Curit's younger brother, ex-Tyloo player, who's just, I think, 15 or 16 right now, and definitely has a lot of potential. I still feel it would have been better for him to play maybe in BTRG. I think that would have been better alongside Impression and his brother, and that would have made him grow better. But I'm not surprised, honestly, that team would not be even in a top 6, top 7 in China alone. So yeah, expectations were there because we were picking them up, and of course the fact that Forsaken's there. But apart from that, if you look at the other 4 players, I'm not too surprised. They're just going to be middle of the pack team, maybe in the lower end of that particular spectrum as well.
Yeah, so we'll see how those groups pan out. Once we get to playoffs, I think things get a little bit more interesting. By the time this episode releases on Thursday night, the groups will be in their final night, so we'll get a bit of a better idea, I guess, next week when we do another episode as to how this is all going to pan out. The other results to talk about, the Asia Champions League, which is, again, another very similar sort of a concept to this Huya Darkhorse League. A bit more of a domestic tournament. None of the super top teams. Again, you've got Invictus Gaming. They've topped their group. They're 2-0 in their group. BTRG and Sigma are fighting for second in Group A. And I think actually what's quite interesting is when we look at the results from Group B is that Huatsai is actually having an okay time. They're actually topping the group at the moment alongside Team Zero TSG, which is Captain Mo's new team. So I don't know. We'll see how this one pans out. I guess, again, nothing really to touch on too much here, but something that we'll kind of keep up with as we sort of progress through the weeks of Asian Counter-Strike. But that's the only results that we've got this week to really talk about. And I think that's fine because we've got Erkast on this episode, so we really want to sort of pick his brains about Mongolian Counter-Strike and what's been going on for Tiger, because there's been a lot of news around the team and that kind of thing over the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I guess let's start really right from the outset here for you, Erk. When you moved away from Australia, right, and moving back to Mongolia, like I assume it for you, it was sort of always the case where you wanted to play CS or you wanted to continue playing CS, right?
Well, like moving back to Mongolia, like I was the team, the Tiger team, the current team was like planned when I knew that my visa's gonna finish. Australia's visa gonna finish, so it was like back in June, I think. I just like talked with Kabal and Dobo, and then they say like, hey, their contract's gonna finish in August, so I think we can make a team. And yeah, we just had the idea from June, so I knew I was gonna play CS.
Were you a hot commodity? Did everyone want to pick up Erkast and have Erkast on their team in Mongolia?
I'm not sure what the players think, but I think for the Mongolian players, like when there's Kabal and Dobu and me in the same team, I think like +2 would be like, easy to find, I guess.
Okay.
So it was pretty much like, I'm not gonna say it's easy because we were just planned it. Like we just like contacted with every player, and then we're like, okay, you want to play? They say yeah. And also Tilk was like, he had no team as well, so it was also easy as well because he didn't have to leave any team. He was just in the US, so he came back from US straight away. So the team was just built beforehand, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this one to you then, Bleh, because I want to get Erkast's opinion on this as well. But obviously, you've been around for quite a while in the Asian CS scene, and you would have seen like the glory days of Mongolia, when the Mongols were the best team in Asia and everyone was afraid of them. And even international teams were sort of like, oh, okay, maybe these guys are pretty decent. So do you sort of like feel maybe right now that Mongolian Counter-Strike is starting to get back to that stage? Like, are they returning to their former glory?
Yes, but with a massive caveat, right? Like when the Mongols rode over Renegades with Sponge at their helm, that was a long time ago. That was 2015 January or February, if I'm not mistaken. It was IEM Taipei, right? That was a long time ago, and it's been more than five and a half years almost now if you look at it. Counter-Strike has changed and evolved a lot since then. These are the early days, and I remember I was watching Blast yesterday, and Maniac mentioned how even Sponge and Maniac were talking about how if you look at the older demos of them playing, they look like shit compared to some of the newer teams coming out, the newer generation of players coming out, right? And back then, what we saw from the Mongols was a time when, you had Nip, you had Very Games, and then you had everyone else. Yeah, you had VP have that run in 2014. Just a very small handful of top teams. Apart from that, I think they struck at a very good time. Now, if they had maintained that level of exposure, there was still like a lack of events back then. I think there could have been a very, very potentially like a solid force, maybe a top 15, maybe a top 10 if I'm being very optimistic. But looking at it right now, I feel like, with Erkast coming back obviously into Mongolia, into the Asian region, it does definitely inject a lot of experience, a lot of a different approach of Counter-Strike in the region. But I still feel it won't be at that level, at the 2015 level of impact they had. Yes, it would be coming back, but there's still a long way, because now the apex of Counter-Strike is way more higher than what it was 5 years ago, right? So yes, I do believe it's coming back, but is it coming back at a level where it was at relative to the top of Counter-Strike in 2015? No, not anytime soon, and I do believe it's going to take a while for that to happen.
Okay, well, let's get your thoughts then on this, Erkast. Obviously, you're playing in the region itself. Do you we like to give you a lot of credit for what's happening in Mongolia, and, you've come back and sort of seem to have, in a way, it seems like you've revitalized the scene. But is that more of a question of correlation and causation? Like, are you actually the reason that the scene is getting better, or is it just so happening that you've come back and the scene is at that same time getting better, but it's not because of you?
I think for my team, I think I might be the reason, because I teach them a lot of stuff, how to play, not in-game stuff, not tactical ways, but let's say communication, right? How to shorten our communications, stuff like that. So for my team, I do that stuff a lot to just help them improve. But in the other case, for Murazrai and D13, I don't know, I didn't talk with them, I don't communicate with them, we're not that close friends. So they for D13 is doing well themselves, those are 5 guys, they have a coach as well. I think they're a bunch of guys just working really hard, and then they're progressing well as well. So it's different. I'm not gonna take credit for whole Mongolian scene. I'm just gonna take credit maybe for my team, maybe.
I actually have a question for OK here. When you left Grayhound and you came to play with the Dobu and the gang, what was the most drastic difference you saw? Because obviously when you played for Grayhound, you weren't just playing for Grayhound, you knew how the rest of the Australian teams played. You also, I'm quite sure, have an idea of how some of the EU teams you faced off against, or the NA teams played, right? Their team culture, the overall look of the team. And considering Dobu and NCL and Cabal rather have played with the Chinese players, with Chuadapai, Shaozagi, and all these guys,
yep.
You come in there, and what was the most drastic difference that you saw, where you're like, whoa, what the fuck are you guys doing?
I think it was just the respect for each other. It's you have to be whole team. I think overall Asian scene lacking that part, in my opinion, because I don't feel they respect means a lot of stuff, it can be talking, listening, and then it just it can work in game, out game. So I think the biggest difference was just respect to each other. Back in Grayhound, I think the team was just perfect. I don't know if it's cultural thing or not, but they in Grayhound, we were just respecting each other well. We knew that Dexter was IGL, so he was the first priority. Everyone's gonna listen to him. And then I was the second caller in game. So if I say something, if Dexter is not talking and I'm talking, everyone's gonna listen to me. It was just goes that way. And let's say, for example, Malta gives a lot of good ideas as well. He's gonna bring up an idea, and then as an IGL and as a secondary caller, I guess we have to respect him, and then we just have to take the idea and then talk about it, and then just work that kind of way. So I think firstly, when I was in Mongolian team with Kabul the August, the team was it was just so random, I guess, for me. So let's say I'm gonna talk something and someone's gonna not listen, and then because of that, we're gonna have one problem, and then it was just so hard. There's so many stuff I want to say, but I'm just gonna combine them all, and I'm just gonna say respect within the teammates. That was just the big part.
Okay.
That's pretty interesting, actually. And I guess you can start to see the fruits of that sort of labor coming into effect now with Tiger's performances versus what we saw maybe from August 9th. Was it August 9th? Or just August? I think there's an Overwatch player called August 9th. That's why I'm thinking August 9th. Anyway, from the results that August had versus the results that Tiger are having, it's like, I guess now that 6 to 12 month period where that sort of system and that culture maybe has been developed within the team. Either way, that sort of brings us to an interesting discussion, which I don't think we've actually really had here on Geographically Challenged for a little while. Like, obviously before Road to Rio, we had our opinions, at least myself, Pilski and Bleh. You know, Pili and I were very much saying we thought Vici was the top team in Asia at the moment. And then Bleh, you were saying you probably were sort of putting your lot in with Tai Lu, it seemed like, at least to me. So I want to go into this. The main crux of this question is Tiger the best team in Asia right now? So to start things off, we're going to go to Bleh first. I'll give Erk some time to think about how he wants to answer this and not sound too egotistical. But we'll go to Bleh first, and because I don't think we've actually answered this question just on this podcast as the panel, right? I'll give you my opinion. I think right now Tiger is the best team. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Bleh?
I don't think so yet. Not yet. Firstly, because for me, when it comes to Asian CS, because of how volatile it is, you have to take into account longevity at the top, right? And for Tiger, and I think Elfish, you can attest to this. Like, for the longest time, I was a guy who said, there's going to be that one moment where it's going to click for Tiger. And once it does, they can really, really start to pop off in the region. And that didn't happen for the longest time. It didn't happen for quite a few number of months. But when it happened, it was only the one event. It was the Road to Rio event. It was a massive event, of course, everything on the line. They beat Tai Lu in a very close series, right? It was a very close series. They get the win. And does that make them the second best team in Asia? Yes, 100%. I agree with that. But Tai Lu, you got to understand that it was a new lineup. And you're talking in a very loose style of Tai Lu. It's not the Tai Lu which we saw with, when they played Pro League with Zeta and Freeman. It's a different Tai Lu. And yet they took them to the wire all the way till the very end over there. And the other wins that Tai Lu had looked very convincing. So I still feel Tai Lu have the edge. And of course, over time, they have managed to play more games as well. And it's starting to look even better day by day, with the communication issue gone out the window. And we all know that, pure firepower-wise, Tai Lu probably is perhaps the best. And unfortunately, in Asia, that's what works. Look at Vici. Someone like Advent, who is perhaps the best mind when it comes to IGLing in Asia. But I always had this thing about this doubt about lack of respect for your in-game leader. And the fact that Erkast mentioned how that was the case even with, his team, I guess you can kind of extrapolate that for the rest of the teams in the region. And I do believe that's always going to be holding Vici Gaming back, the lack of firepower as well. So yeah, long answer, but short answer would be, is Tai Lu number one right now? I still believe it is. I think Tiger are a very close second, but I want to see a few more events where they face off against each other in a high stakes tournament with a lot on the line, like the Road to Rio or maybe a Pro League, which would maybe make me change my stance.
Okay, very interesting. What about the Weibo Cup results? You didn't mention Weibo Cup there at all. So does that factor in?
I still stand by it. I don't count Chinese online event results at all. Sure. I think it's complete garbage.
Okay, well then now's your time to shine, Erkast. Do you believe that your team currently is the strongest team in Asia?
Well, I actually agree with Bleh because it's not biased to my team. I just telling the truth because I think because Vici and Tyler were like, not Tyler, I guess Vici. I think in my opinion, Vici's the best team in Asia. Tyler, and when it comes to Tyler versus Vici, I think it's just there's goes some rivalry when they're like domestic teams. They were like rivalry for a long time. They know each other. Like for example, as a player, like sometimes when I play against Mongolian teams, like I just do something really random and just not like in tactical way. I just do something random because I know how to play, and then it just goes like this, even with like in Swedish scene as well. Like when there's like, let's say Fnatic was number one team and then NAP was like somewhere 7, 8. But when they were facing each other, it's always like overtime, third map, OT, blah, blah. So it's like, it's something against between Tylo and Vici. But in my opinion, like Vici is the best team. Tylo, I would say Tylo second, and like we're like behind them. I'm not going to say third because it's like, the reason is, another reason is also because they were like, Vici was like together like longer period, and it means they've been through a lot. They've been a lot of downs, ups. So like that's like for me, that's the most like important part of the team. Like they've been through a lot. So let's say they losing right now to Tyloo, and then maybe they have an ability to come back stronger because they've been there before in Asian scene. So I think I'm not gonna say we're number one. I'm just gonna say we're like maybe like follow. We're just like they're number 1 and 2, and we're just behind them.
Okay.
Wait. Who would be number 3 in that case? Like, is there a third best team in Asia, if not you guys?
Well, like maybe us, but
there we go. Third best team.
They're the third best
Okay.
team then.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, third best team. Yeah.
I think there isn't really a fair argument to make for any other team to be in the top 3 outside of yourselves and Vici or Tyloo. But I kind of love and hate that you've said Vici because, I've been on this Vici hype train for the last 6 months. And only now am I really starting to kind of fall off of it after seeing, Road to Rio and DreamHack Masters and being like, maybe they're never going to make it. But now you've given me that little bit of hope again. So I might jump back on and start fanboying. I'm not sure.
God damn it.
Yeah.
It all depends on them, how they're going to take these losses. Can they like mentally come back as a team? I think that's just the
biggest
important part.
All right. Okay. Well, then let's talk about the future a little bit as well, because there's a lot of stuff that we sort of want to talk about that's in the past, but I kind of want to get an idea of what the intention is for Tiger as a team. We look at you guys as being a pretty solid team at the moment. What are the future plans? Because I don't know if you saw in the last episode, we had a question about what was like Tiger's future plans, and the question was sort of surrounding whether or not then maybe they would boot camp in Europe or boot camp in New Zealand. So do you want to like maybe confirm or deny those rumors? Like, what are you guys intending to do, let's say after coronavirus is over?
I think after the coronavirus, I think we're just intending to move to Shanghai, China.
Mm-hmm.
That's where our org is based. So I think we're gonna move there. But there's a lot of like talking where we're gonna go to Europe just for bootcamp. Like we're not gonna be there forever. We're just gonna go there for 2 or 3 weeks and then have a bootcamp. Maybe if there's a like good tournament, maybe just go there, play tournament, or just bootcamp and come back just to get the experience. And then basically we're just gonna go into live in Shanghai, I think.
Makes sense. And that proves us correct, I guess, Blair. We sort of shot down the idea that it could potentially be in New Zealand. Makes sense for them to go to China, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. And also, like, for me personally, again, I mean, obviously, I'm not in any way related to the org, but for me, I've always wanted to see, like, I've seen so many teams from Asia go to EU for a boot camp, right? But I feel like the best way to approach that would be to have a pre-boot camp in Asia, like for a couple of weeks, and then go to EU. So you at least have some preparation going into perhaps, not perhaps, the highest level of competition in the world, right? So you are prepared there. You at least have done your prep work. And then you spend like a few weeks over there and come back. And also mention how, and maybe you can answer this for me, Erkast, how many of the Asian players who, when they moved to Europe, they suffered with that cultural shift. I'm talking about food, the people, the culture, and they're not able to like stay there for a long time because of that. Do you think that could, like, for example, hypothetically, if Tiger were to spend a couple of months in EU, how big of a problem would that be for the team and for you as a person individually?
I'm not sure if I can like answer on behalf of my team, because everyone is different. Like for example, I can like live in EU because like it's nice there, just because like everything's nice for me, and also the most important priority is just CS. So I know like there's actually good quality CS there, so it's just like I'm just gonna like enjoy all the time there, just playing against Europeans. I would say it just depends on the person, because some people would take a food as a priority. Okay, like this food's not right for me, so I can't be there. For me, that's not like most important. I can like I can eat any food. Like food is not a problem for me. So just CS is important. So yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. Makes sense. We sort of talked last episode about these individuals on certain teams being like a bridge for their team. You feel like your experiences maybe here in Australia would like help you to, let's say Tiger goes over to Europe to boot camp. Does that help you as a leader or a leadership figure in your team to sort of help the guys sort of maybe acclimatize a little bit to Europe?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question yet.
So if you go to Europe, you've been in Australia, so you know what it's like to live in a different culture.
Yeah.
Can you maybe like help your teammates to find their feet in Europe, if that makes sense?
I think I'm just like can't think about it. I'm just thinking in my head, what's the big deal of it? You know,
So
why
maybe for
like
you, it's not a big deal, right?
it's not a big deal for me as long as there's like accommodation and good PC and good internet, like and food. That's fine, you know.
I have a feeling that you, as an individual, may be different to a lot of people in that respect. You know, like people will miss home and miss whatever their creature comforts are, but maybe it's something that doesn't affect you that might affect other people. But I guess that's a discussion for when we talk to maybe some of your teammates or some other people from the Asian region. One final question on like the sort of the Mongolian and the Asian scene and that sort of stuff before we dive into some specific topics. And I guess we'll start with Erkast for this one, because this is sort of tying into the discussion that we had on the last episode about whether or not Erkast and Tiger would potentially move to New Zealand to have a boot camp. Do you believe that the Asian scene is actually better than ANZ, or is the ANZ region like better for prac and that sort of thing?
I think when it comes to practice, like Asian scene is better because there's like a lot of teams and you have a lot of styles. Like for example, like Chinese teams play in a different way, and then you have a VG who plays also like different way in China. You have Southeast Asian teams, and then you had Koreans, I guess.
Had
Koreans, and then I think like, and there's also like there's a lot of number of teams. Like in Australia, like I remember like you had like fewer teams, and then also you couldn't like practice with order or choose back in the day that much because that was our like main rival. So you don't want to give up that much strategies. And when you play against them, it's just like, you know, running around. None of them is trying. It's just like, you know, trying to just like kill each other in a cheeky way, not use tactics and stuff. So in that way, I would say like Asia is better. But when it comes to like in-game quality wise, I would say Australia is better because you have like average ping is in Australia is like either it's 5 ping or 20 ping, like sometimes 50 ping if someone's from like Perth or like New Zealand, some part of New Zealand, but mostly like the pings are better. So in that case, like the online game would be like more nice, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. But in Asian scene, like you have a Hong Kong server and Singapore server. That's the two main servers. But most teams can play in Hong Kong. In our case, the most in Mongolian case, like we have Hong Kong server. The closest to us, we get 60 ping. And let's say you face Fiji, some of them has like 10 ping. And if you verse some Thailand team, they have like 40, 50. I don't know. It's like really random. Like I just not the big fan of like random pings, you know. It just gives me like I'm not a fan of like high ping and
no one is.
Well, how you explain like unequal ping, not equal?
Yeah,
ping?
So basically there's no level playing field for all the teams, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the like there are pros and cons, right, to playing in ANZ versus playing in Asia. What about like as far as where the teams are sitting? Like who's got the stronger teams right now? Like considering right now that Renegades is an ANZ team, would you consider that they are out of all of Asia, including ANZ, the strongest? Or is it Kylo, Vici, and yourselves? So I know it's hard to answer, right? But
it's really hard to answer, like because it's really random. I think there should be like if there's after all the coronavirus, I think there should be like should be like extreme standards and they where like all the good teams from ANZ region and Asian region come along together and then face each other. I think we need that to say who's better now because now we all see is like online games. Sometimes I see some really like good plays in both regions. Sometimes I see really bad plays in both regions. So like it's really hard to answer for me.
So what you're saying is we need like, I don't know, something like an Asian minor maybe that unfortunately won't be going ahead. So that would have been pretty good. Either way, that's a discussion maybe for like 2021 or something when we do get there. Unfortunately, Extremesland is cancelled, by the way. I don't know if you heard about that, but there is no Extremesland this year either. So that sucks. Hopefully we'll see a sort of tournament like that, but I don't think we'll get it until maybe next year. Anyway, that's enough of the discussion about Mongolia and what's going on in Erkast's life. Now we're going to start talking about the elephants in the room, and there are a couple of elephants, a couple of big ones. We've talked about them on the podcast already ourselves, but we want to get your thoughts on these as well, Erkast. Now, we were fairly outspoken about our thoughts on the ESL Pro League situation with you guys not being invited. So I just want to get immediately, what's your immediate thought upon, seeing the invites and not being invited? Obviously you're not too happy with that, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm not that happy. Initial thought was our manager told us that his English is not that good, right? So he was saying, okay guys, we're eligible to play Pro League. I was like, okay, nice. And then he was sending screenshots of the Polish guy, they're talking through email. And then basically he was trying to get the reason why we're not invited, and also there's 7 teams, and is there a slot for 8 team? He was just discussing that, and I can see from the email that the Polish admin guy was just saying no, there is not gonna be any qualifier. It was just the invite was from the previous Pro League, so you're ineligible to play this league. But the manager said we're eligible to play. I was so confused, right? I was in the middle. I was stuck. So we can play or we're not playing. And he corrected the day after. We can't play, guys.
Yeah. So
I was so initial thought was I thought we can play, right? Because we're gonna get the last spot, and then it's just the light was just fading away in the darkness. I was okay, we're not gonna play.
So what do you think about the invite system then, as a whole, as a concept? It seems strange that you have to play in a previous season of Pro League to qualify for this season of Pro League, but then how does a new team ever qualify for Pro League in that case?
I'm actually really angry towards ESL because I don't think they're taking Asian scene really seriously. I don't think they have a person who's representing Asian scene where they can discuss about the team invites or what's going on in the region. It's just I'm just really sad, but all they're gonna say is it is what it is. It just clearly means that they're not showing any attention towards the Asian scene. So that's kind of sad. So and then because it's that way, I'm just sad. Yeah, that's it, I guess.
Okay, what does that then do to the mentality of a team, right? Let's say, okay, we've already had the argument about who's the best team in Asia, and we've sort of agreed that it's a top 3 situation, right? But you're quite clearly a top 3 team in the Asian region, right? But what does it do to the mentality of a team to not be invited to what is arguably the most premier tournament in the region?
Luckily we have RMR going on, so I think that kind of helped us a lot because we're okay, let's just focus on RMR. That was our response. So we took it kind of lightly, but I know in the long term what if next Pro is gonna announce and they're gonna invite those teams again? What if it's gonna just continue like this forever? We were just we talked about it a bit, but I guess it's kind of sad, but because of RMR, we just kind of said, okay, let's just focus on the one thing. The main priority is RMR. So
yeah, that's something that we've talked about.
Let's just not waste the energy over there. Yeah, that's what we...
It's something that Pili has sort of touched on a lot, Bleh, where if there are no opportunities for teams in the Asia region to compete and to hit a decent level to play against international teams, most teams are just going to be well, fuck it. What's the point of playing Counter-Strike? And I mean, I guess for Tiger, they're lucky, right? That, as Erkast says, they have something else to play in, because if there was no RMR tournament right now, theoretically would have had the major by now. What would Tiger realistically be playing in if it were not for the Road to Rio sort of thing? Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, but I 100% agree with you. And also, look at it, right? Many people we have spoken about, what do you think is going to be the big next thing in Asian CS? Is Asian CS ever going to, really reach the level of EU or NA? And I've said no. I don't think it's going to happen in this iteration. I'm sorry, Erkast, for saying this, but I don't really believe that it's going to happen in this version of Counter-Strike. I feel like maybe when CS 3.0 comes out in 2025, maybe then we might stand a chance. That's what I believe. But I'm also an optimist. I also want to believe that some new team might come out there is going to, somehow wreck everyone. Maybe wreck Tiger, maybe wreck Tyloo and Vici, and suddenly they're like the new superstars of Asian CS, and then they might potentially beat your Fnatics and MIBRs or who not. Right? I mean, everyone's beating MIBR right now, but yeah, you know what I mean. The point I'm trying to make here is if you don't build that path of opportunity for the unknown teams, the up and coming teams, there should be an open qualifier for Pro League. I always believe that. You can have your invites coming in, but there should be a couple of slots available for teams to qualify in. The same goes for any big event out there. And for me, it's kind of distressing that this wasn't the case for the past few years. ESL, DreamHacks, everyone else, they gave a fuck about inviting the right teams, having open qualifiers. I don't know what's changed right now that it's gotten to this level. Are there other online events happening in China? Absolutely. There are dozens of them happening, but they don't have the weight or the impact where the winner will qualify for an event where they get to play against the best out there. And I believe that the pro leagues of the world, the DreamHack Masters, the RMR events, you name it, some of these bigger events, they need to take care of the responsibility they have. They have a responsibility of an entire region in their hands. And if they don't give a shit, well, how's the region ever going to grow, right? And yeah, I agree with you. I'm just adding on to what he said. It's just unfortunate.
Okay, so I think that's kind of a good segue then into what we would, want to talk about next, which is the other elephant in the room. We said we've got a couple. Now, there's been all these rumors, obviously, about Smooya and Snappi potentially joining Tiger, and we've discussed them. Everyone's discussed them. It's been on HLTV, so it seemed like it was really kind of legit. So, theoretically, Bleh, this might be the world where, like, if Smooya and Snappi do join, that might be the Asia team, or the predominantly Asia team that comes and starts to wreck EU teams and that kind of thing. Maybe that's something that I guess we can get your opinion on, Erk. Like, I don't know how to sort of approach this, right? Because I want to go...
How did it start? How did it even start about?
I want to go, like, line by line. So, like, yeah, where, like, when did you first sort of hear about this potentially being a thing?
So, like, before the rumor, like, a couple weeks ago, like, Smooya, like, followed me on Instagram, right? I was like, whoa, nice. And then he DM'd me like, hey, what's up? He was like, yeah, we were just like greeting each other, and he said, my maybe future teammate. I don't know like what word he used, but he said something like that. My future teammate, something like that. I don't know what he actually said, but I was like, whoa, what do you mean? And he's like, and then he told me that he contacted with our org and stuff. And then it just finished. The conversation finished there, and then I kind of got a glimpse of it, and then and then after that, it just like came out of nowhere. Like we just found out that on like our group chat in WeChat, they told us, okay, we like signing those two players, and then the HLTV announced it like straight away. And I was like, what is going on? And then apparently like they actually like started the conversation with them. Like the main priority for our team is just to build the best Asian team who can compete against Europeans, right, and North Americans as well. And then because like their project is like really big, and I don't know how they like approached it, but they started with our team, and then their idea was they'll bring the players one by one, and then just like like get the experience, and then go to like another tournament. He even mentioned like, I'm not sure if I can say it, I don't know, but he even mentioned something like, okay, we might even play Flashpoint or something like that. I was like, oh, okay, that's a big thing. And then yeah, that was like their whole project. And then like we got the news from the HLTV and the group chat that it was like literally same time, right? The announcement came, and then they were just on group chat, okay guys, this is what's happening, and we were kind of stressed out. It was like in the middle of night as well, so we were all in bed. Yeah, it was just so random, I guess. That was the most random news I heard on HLTV.
So based on what you're saying there, it seems like this is a org driven pickup. Like the org has decided that they want to have Smooya and Snappi.
Yep.
And then you guys were informed basically when the HLTV article went out? Like you, the player group, were.
But we knew like there's something's going to happen because they were questioning like, okay, what do you think about those young players of like D13 and something like that, you know? Like they were also trying to pick them up and make a team with mine and NCL as well. So they're gonna be the second team, and Smooya, Snappi, and Couple W are gonna be the
primary
main
team.
primary team. Yeah, that's the correct word. Like that was their plan because they also did want to drop 9 in NCL as well. So yeah, they had their like whole just big project, and then like I think at the end of the day they just like kind of believed us because we won our mayor. And also, by the way, they started the like this thing with Smooya and Snappi when we were actually playing really bad, like when we couldn't qualify for DreamHack summer spring. Was it spring?
DreamHack Masters spring, yeah.
Yeah, we lost to Sigma, I think.
Yep.
And then like during that time they were just talking with them, and then they thought, well, okay, we need help. And obviously from their perspective it's really understandable, you know, like we as a player we think like, okay, it's like, you know, 5 Mongolian players, like, you know, it's easy to communicate, also we're friends, we don't want to like lose each other and stuff. But from the org's perspective, they also like they want to build something, you know, they don't want to build like a Mongolian team who has no guarantee that like it's gonna go really far and stuff. They want some guaranteed roster. And then like after RMR, we obviously didn't want to like split as well because we just won RMR, and then like, you know, everything's going well, and also we built something with this team, and it's like, you know, like I said before, like the respect I was talking about, the like whole the communication thing, and it was just like we built something and it's working so well for us. So we just like we told them just, okay guys, just trust us, we're gonna do real well, you know. Like also if we bring those 2 players, like no way we're gonna qualify for a major because of the like, you know, the points and stuff. Yeah, so like nothing's gonna work out. And also like they were just like, for me they were not worrying about the coronavirus as well. Like I told them, okay, look at the circumstance, like there's a pandemic going on and you want to bring 2 players from Europe, and then you want us to start everything from the scratch. It's just gonna be like it's gonna downgrade for sure. Like I'm not like saying they're bad players, but like even if like Smooya and Snappi comes to our team, there's gonna be a point where we're gonna go to slump. We're not gonna like start dominate from day one, you know. It will take a lot for a team to start showing up, you know.
Okay, so
yeah, go on.
All right, I was going to ask the question about what was the reason. Like obviously you've sort of mentioned that the whole plan was cancelled, right? So you mentioned that it was partly because you guys won Road to Rio, and then that was going to impact the points. So was like that the primary driver behind this deal kind of being cancelled?
They said after our mayor, they said this thing. Okay, you said prove. We said okay, just trust us, and they said okay, if you want to get the trust, do like compete in Weibo Cup and like achieve something. They said basically.
Yeah.
But they say really nice way. I'm just telling really mean way. Like they're like really mean people. What they actually say, okay, we understand you guys, you know, okay, but you just have to prove to the company, you know, because our sponsors are really big, and then they want to they want to see something from us, you know. Okay, armor is one thing, but Weibo Cup is coming, so you have to compete there and then do good. They say do good.
So in the eyes of your team, or like the sponsors of the team, is the Weibo Cup result more impactful than the Road to Rio result?
I think that was the case, yeah, because
there you
I
go,
actually
Bleh.
don't know what is going on.
It's Weibo.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know what's going on. We have like Sina, right? I don't know I actually don't know about our org that much. I know there's a guy, but they're so nice, right? They're so nice. They give us they're like really helpful with everything. They respond really well comparing to other Chinese orgs I experienced with. They're like really like straightforward, and the main thing is they want to achieve something. They want to achieve we have the same goal. Like we'll both want to be the best team in Asia, so that's the good part. And then yeah, and then they just told us, okay, you have to do good and Weibo. That's what our manager said, and he also said it's because the bigger guys in our company wants the best team in Asia, so you have to prove it. And we're like, we had the kind of a pressure from it a little bit. I'm not little bit. I got a lot of pressure from it. I was just thinking, fuck, I built this team. Now I have to fucking tell to these two guys, two of my friends, okay, guys, Smooya and Snappi coming. Obviously, I'm not gonna leave. I don't want to leave this team because it's a good team for me as well if I stay in the team. But it's just so sad. We just built the team, and I was just stressful because I was talking with the manager and the org owner, and then I was telling to my teammates. I was just in the middle ground, so I was like, no. And then Weibo Cup came in. We just stand together before the tournament. Okay, guys, whatever happens, fuck it, we're gonna finish RMR, just 5 of us. Let's go. And then everything went smooth. We won VG quarterfinals. We won VG in the quarterfinals, and then we was like, okay, let's go, guys. We're gonna actually take it. Let's go. Woo. Yeah, that was like cheeky.
I actually
movie for us.
I actually want to add something to that, right? I respect the org making hard decisions. That's something which I feel doesn't happen in Asia often enough, where it's the same shitty lineup for a year and a half, nothing changes, some random, like they'll kick out one player and they'll get in someone equally bad, right? And I got to respect Tiger, like as an org, for making those decisions to go for something crazy like getting Smooya and Snappi. But I also want to wonder, like, this is probably going to be the last time we're going to talk about this. In a world where you guys didn't win the RMR, you didn't perform well in the Weibo Cup, and this change actually happened. Like Snappi and Smooya actually came through. And let's assume the pandemic wasn't that big either. The COVID situation kind of died down a bit, and they actually came in and you formed a team. How do you see that team going? Like, would that have worked in your opinion?
I think it would work pretty well. I think, yeah, you have Smooya. Like Smooya is a really skilled player. Like I think it would work real well in Asian scene. Like especially for Snappi, I think he played in the high levels for so long, and also he's an IGL, which is like, it's IGL is a hard thing to find in Asian scene. I think, like let's say you have an Advent in VG, but when you want to name someone else, there's actually no one.
Yeah,
there's actually no one. So, yeah. I think that's maybe main priority. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so obviously that, it seems like you would have maybe enjoyed having those guys on your team and you think that the team might have worked well. I'm quite interested to know what you think would happen with the scene, like for the Asian scene as a whole, how, if this actually happened, how that might have impacted, would it have forced like Tyloo and Vici, for example, to potentially look at international imports and that kind of thing if you were to pick these two players up and start dominating everyone in Asia?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think if we were a team, I think we would dominate Asian scene. I'm not gonna guarantee that, but I'm just gonna say it like with confidence, So I think it just like puts us on the table, like higher on the table, So it means like for other teams like Tyloo, VG, they're also a big organization, so they can invest on players in Europe. So I think they would also like go for it.
Would it have brought more like Western eyeballs to the Asian scene? Would like European people and North American people be interested in Asia all of a sudden?
Yeah, that actually could have been the case, I think.
Could have been. I also could have saved the scene, right?
I also feel like that it would have potentially worked with Tiger, because like I know at least Erkast and Dobu can speak English to a very high level of proficiency compared to many other players in Asia. But we know what happened when BnTeT played for Tyloo, and even for the rest of the other teams, they mainly still communicate in Mandarin, right? Or, for the Thai teams in Thai or whatever. So I think the comms issue not being a problem for, at least for you guys, compared to, the other teams, would have helped things out. So I don't think it would necessarily have, like, if Snappi and Smooya had joined you guys and you guys started dominating Asia, I don't think it would have been as easy for, let's say, a Tyloo or a Vici to pick up, I don't know, some Danish player out there. And then, all right, let's bring them in. We can create that. I don't think it's going to work out easily like it does for you guys, right?
Yep. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how they speak in English, but from what Tobo and Cabo told me, like the they actually like don't speak in English at all. So
the Chinese teams.
yeah. So
Makes sense.
that could be
surprising.
the hard part. Obviously, European players not gonna like learn Chinese, I would say.
Not unless
That would
they,
be
for some
intense.
reason, already knew Chinese.
In that case, like we have a bit of advantage because like we speak a bit of better English than other Chinese players.
But even then, like you think about, some of the Korean guys can speak English. Like I know Zeta speaks English. Zion, we believe, understands at least a decent level of English. Some of the Singaporean and Malaysian players definitely speak English. So like,
Yeah.
it's not like there isn't talent within the Asian region to sort of pick and choose from. You don't have to go toward the Chinese players. Like maybe Tyler and Beachy stick with their Chinese rosters, but maybe some other, like maybe another Tiger kind of org comes in from Singapore or from fucking anywhere and picks up someone like Paper X, gets all the good parts of Paper X and brings a couple of European teams in. I think it could have been really interesting. Like it would have been such a different sort of like, we're like at crossroads, right? We're like Asia continues how it always has been, which is where we're going, versus this potential Europe-Asia mix sort of fusion, whatever.
Yeah. I think in the long term that mix, like the mix universe with the mixed teams would like achieve more than the current one.
But the thing is though, like if, for example, if this were to happen, you guys might dominate Asia, and then surely the discussion is, okay, well, we've conquered Asia, we move to Europe or North America.
Yeah, I think that would be the case as well. Like Renegade State back in the day to North America. I think that would be a really good thing to do as a player. Yeah.
So it would end up being the same thing like here domestically within Asia at the end of the day anyway, because like you would just move out and leave it.
Yep.
So look, it's a super interesting discussion. I guess we're probably not going to talk too much more on it in the future. We'll probably sort of put the matter to bed. We've got enough clickbait and drama out of it over the last few months, but it's been fun. Maybe there's a world where something like this happens again next year. Either way, we'll move on from the Smooya and Snappi discussion now, and let's just talk about Mongolian CS in general, because we did have a little bit of a discussion about it earlier on, but I want to talk like just about the scene in general, like because it seems like Mongolian CS is certainly making a resurgence. We've already talked about whether or not we thought that would be like the Mongolia of old with the Mongols and whatever. Maybe not necessarily the case, but it seems like the Mongolian CSGO scene right now is kind of flourishing, like from the outside. When I look at some of the tournaments that I've seen around and the teams that are now starting to qualify through to these sort of international events, I mean like domestic Asian events, it seems like Mongolian CS is going really well. So like, is the scene kind of popping over there?
I think within the Mongolia, let's say right now there's an election going on, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's like all I hear is like those like candidates. Is that right?
Yep.
Those candidates, they're just like talking about esport as well. Like this election first time, like previous election, they never mentioned esport. Like now they're just they're just like people who support the esport, and I think that's part of it as well. Like there's a lot of like youngsters in Mongolia, like when it comes to demographic, and we have a small population, but when it comes to like CSGO population, we have like a lot of them. I don't know like how it worked. Like we have a lot of gamers.
It reminds me of Red Eye. He once mentioned how he spoke to the Mongol manager, I think, back in like 2015 thereabouts, and he's like, "How are you guys so good at it?" It's like, "Yeah, there's fucking nothing else to do in Mongolia." That's what the manager said, supposedly.
There's actually so many people like who play CS. Like even like for example for me, right? Like when I just go to a shop, there's a lot of people recognize me as well. Like it's not like I'm a superstar, right? I'm just like guy who plays CS, but it just tells that there's a lot of people who plays the game. So that's why like people like recognize me as in like player, So like I think that's the part. I think that's just the big part in like Mongolian CS. I think like there's like 3 games people play in. It's like CS and Dota 2 and PUBG. Like those 3 games are the like main game people play.
So what's it like? Like, is the scene like really flourishing? We talk about how Korean Counter-Strike seems to have died with Valorant, and then like there doesn't seem to be that much happening in China outside of the top teams. Thai CS is kind of on the downward trend, it seems like, for at least their results. But it really seems like Mongolia is kind of getting that leg up right now. So do you sort of feel like maybe Mongolia is I would say, the best region within Asia as far as Counter-Strike is concerned at the moment, just in terms of like health of the scene?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it is like in other countries.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as a result was, I think we're like having a like decent result. Like we have 3 teams competing in like top 8, I guess, in Asia. Mozilla, D13, and us.
Mhm.
So that just like proves something that we like Mongolian. There's like a lot of Mongolian teams in the top Asian teams.
Yeah. Do you reckon that sort of helps people to play more CS? Like, do people look at that and go, "I want to play CS now"?
Yeah, for sure. Like that just motivates like really young people to play CS other than other game.
Fair enough. Okay, well, speaking of other games then, Valorant is a pretty hot topic. Do you see much going on with Valorant in Mongolia right now? Like, is it taking any CS players away?
I saw some streamers like started playing Valorant. But I think people were playing Valorant as well. But I'm not sure. Like I didn't play the game, so I'm not sure how. I have no expectation on that game, so like I also can't say anything about it because I actually have zero information about Valorant. I didn't even touch the game, so
seems like it's not really that. Like, no one really in Mongolia is particularly interested in it compared to CS.
At the moment, I saw some streamers playing it. That's pretty much it.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, okay, I'm gonna have like maybe a little bit of a selfish question here then, right? Because I cast a lot of things like Road to Rio and all those sort of tournaments where you start to see Mongolian teams coming through. Now, outside of Tiger, obviously, I want to know like who are the top players in the Mongolian region in your opinion. So like even including Murazrai and D13, like who are the sick players that we should kind of watch out for if we're the Western audience and we don't necessarily know Mongolian players
I think
that well?
definitely like some of the players from D13. I think they have really high skill like players, like really high skill players. Score and Annihilation and Rate from that team. I'm just gonna name 3 players from that team because they're like super young. Like interesting fact about Annihilation, right? He's like really smart and he's like champion in some memory World Cup or something. I don't know how you explain in English.
Okay.
Like like you just have to memorize like bunch of stuffs. Like he even went to like some international tournament and won something and came back. So he's like super smart guy, and I bet he doesn't forget smokes for sure.
that's a sort of teammate you want. That's the sort of teammate you want.
You know that smoke? Oh yeah, for sure.
Sure, I bet that's how he sounds. All right, well that's kind of good to hear that there's a lot of that sort of talent coming through the Mongolian scene, and I'm very much going to keep an eye. Like I think if you've been watching a lot of our podcast, Cirque, and for the viewers out there, a lot of people would have heard us talking about Thai CS and getting very excited about how the Thai region is sort of progressing along. Now I think I'm kind of getting that vibe more so from the Mongolian region than I am from the Thai region. Like you've got a few teams up towards the top level of the Asian competition. There seems to be quite a fledgling kind of a competitive scene within Mongolia domestically as well. So I think, we probably should keep an eye on how things go within the Mongolian region and how that sort of affects Asia as a greater whole. But this is then a good segue as well into the next topic, which is how we see Asia as a whole sort of developing and going at the moment. We talk about this with all the guests that we have on Erk. So myself and Bleh have already given our opinions on this quite substantially. Even the first episode of Geographically Challenged was where we said that the state of Asian CS is the worst that it has been in recent history, recent memory. What do you think about the Asian scene at the moment? Do you think it's going well? Like, is there enough to play in? Is there enough reason for a new player to potentially be like, I want to be a CSGO pro if they live in Asia?
I think CS is just like getting better in Asia for me. From the time I moved to Mongolia, right? It was like August last year. So like back then, like there was only like fewer teams like we like used to like for me, like when I moved to like Mongolia, like I had no idea about like Asian scene, right? I just knew about Tyloo and VG. That's it. And and then like once I moved in, there was like pretty much not that many teams as well. But when I started like actually like screaming up with other teams, that's like whole new experience, right? Like you actually see like new young players coming in, and then like you have like for example, oh, I forgot the name, Bren, yeah, Bren, Lucid Dream, like those teams, like I did not expect them to be like that good, like for me, right? And then now like they're just growing and growing, but and then I don't know like how to explain, but there's a reason to play CS:GO in Asia, but you just have to go the right way. And the right way depends on both organization and the players for me. The organization part is just they just need to like, you know, support consistently the players, like there's give them like do some contract, and then just, you know, you also have to need trust, I guess. Okay. And then from the player's perspective, you need that mentality to fail and then improve the failure, you know, learn from the failure, like, okay, you're bad at it, and then just don't you know, kill the team. You have to like progress within the team, and then have that like I mentioned again, the respect mentality to each other. That means like you have to be open and drop the ego, and then just know your shit count, and then just learn from it, you know. It's a really important factor. I think just whole Asian scene just doesn't have that mentality. It's let's say we have a team right here, right? It's the 0 point, and you're growing. Damn, falls, and then you just roster change, another fall, and then you're never gonna go up from here. You just have to like start here. Maybe you're gonna start like, you know, falling. No, this way, falling, and then but eventually, if you know what's the mistake, and then like, you know, work on it, you can grow easily. I think that's the like main difference between Asian teams and Western teams. Like Western people, like culture-wise, I think they just like learned from the mistakes, like from the history to history, you know. And I think that's also something we need to learn in Asian like scene, this players especially. You can't just like, you know, fail in one tournament and then fuck this guy, change another tournament. Maybe you're gonna have some like, you know, Cinderella story with new team, and then next tournament you're gonna fall again. So it's like, I think that's why for me, even with Tyloo and VJ, right, that's the only reason they dominate in the Asian scene, because they're just staying together longer. Let's say VJ, they have like 3 players, Zocking, Advent, and Almain. They've been there together for a while.
Even Kaze now, if you think about it.
Yeah, with Kaze, yeah. So they just proves that they're just like, you know, they build something and they work on it. They even had good result in overseas as well, so many times. So it's just have to go this way. But imagine there's a world where teams like there's like, let's say 6 or 7, let's say just 5 or 6 teams like VJ, right, who is not changing roster. Imagine that would be like, and then you make a tournament in Asia. This will be such a good rivalry between like 5-6 teams who didn't give up, who was there from day one, and
Dude,
then just
imagine,
building
right?
everything.
Imagine we still had Tyloo, Vici, MVP, Boot Dreamscape, Tiger comes along and performs well, Lucid Dream starts popping off, then you've got like a representative from each of the major regions. Then you might add 2 teams from ANZ like Renegades and Avant at the moment, and think about how sick that tournament could be. And then you've even got teams, for example, like Bren and whatever that come from the Philippines, that BTRG even in that discussion, who theoretically could be okay, but, you know, there's a few teams that are sort of on the outskirts that haven't quite sort of hit that level. And I think, I mean, it's unfortunate, right, to see teams, for example, like Boot and MVP sort of disappearing. But actually, what Erk was saying there, Blair, about, you know, the org having to sort of have a bit of faith in the team and stuff, really sort of rings true with what we're talking about when we speak about MVP PK, right? We sort of mentioned that it seemed like the Korean scene wanted to make another team, you know, the one that Pili talks about all the time, and then there was no org to pick them up. So I guess that's how the cookie crumbles.
I think it's 2 ways, right? You look at the team mentality from EU, and then you look at the org mentality from NA. I look at it from that perspective. NA orgs overall are generally better than the EU orgs when it comes to Counter-Strike, or esports generally speaking. And I think that's something lacking on both sides when it comes to Asia, right? You're talking about an org where they'll just give all the power to the players, and the players go, oh yeah, I'm just gonna get my buddy. This player's not working out. I'm just gonna get this guy, and they just get like shitty, middling results. And for the org, I don't even know why they don't step in. And at other times, like you said, for the Koreans, the org's like, yeah, we don't want to support you anymore, and they just go with what flows. But then again, it's South Korea where they are an anomaly. They're very different from the rest of Asia when it comes to esports. I think we have to accept that fact. They're even more ahead of the Western world when it comes to esports in certain aspects, apart from Counter-Strike. So I agree with both of you, and I think Erkast is a very good point about how it's not about the skill set in Asia. Then this is something I've agreed a lot with. This is something I've been saying for the past number of years. Lack of respect, lack of maturity, mental maturity, and lack of hard work. It requires hard work to be the best. You just can't hope that you get a good hand of cards. It's not like a game of poker where you're waiting for that good hand and then you play it. No, sometimes you have to make your own hand. Sometimes you have to make it work with whatever you have. And Vici, I think, is the best example. I still don't think they're the best team in Asia, but I have to give them credit that even with Zoking and Almond, they are a top 2, maybe a top 1 team at times. They don't have the firepower of Tyloo. They don't have the firepower of Tiger, but the system works. And you have to look at that and appreciate that and work around that. But I don't know why no other team in Asia. That's why I really want Vici to succeed. Imagine a world where Vici is number 1. Indisputable number 1. Tyloo are like a far second. Tiger's not able to catch up to them, and they're like this. They're like the old renegades from Australia, right? Where they're untouchable, basically in Asia. Then everyone in Asia is like, oh shit, they're doing something right. Let's copy them. But no, they look at someone like Tyloo, where there's this insane fraggers, and they want to replicate that. And if it doesn't work, they kick out a player. They get another one in. And yeah, I think it goes both ways. The orgs need to step up. They need to make changes when needs be. They can't give all the power in the hands of the players, where most of these players, let's be real, they might be sick fraggers in games, but outside of the game, they don't necessarily know how to operate the team. They don't necessarily know how to be a leader of men. I'm not talking about in-game leader, but a captain of men, a leader of men, a leader of a team. Many of them don't have that quality. And I feel that's when the org steps in. And at the same time, the players need to step up to that expectation as well. So I think it goes hand in hand, man. I'm not a big fan of, when we just shit on the orgs, say, oh, the orgs aren't supporting the teams. I'm like, but yeah, the teams are shit anyway. And I also don't want to put all the blame on the teams, where sometimes the orgs do fuck them over, like the Koreans, for example. So yeah, it's basically both of them. They got to go hand in hand.
Chicken and the egg sort of a situation, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. Well,
I like both.
Look, I mean, it's good to hear at least that Erkast feels like the Asian scene is doing well, because we're sort of very doom and gloom about the region, and it's nice to have a refreshing, positive opinion of how things are going. Anyway, we're more or less getting toward the end of the episode, and this is where we get into the sort of chat shit segment where you guys can ask us questions and we answer them, and we may talk about some random sort of off-topic things, not necessarily too related to Asian Counter-Strike. So we had one question last week from Murazrai, who put it in the YouTube comments, which you guys can do. We'll answer in the next episode if you have anything you want us to answer. And it's actually 2 questions in one. So this is probably one that's probably better for you, Bleh. Maybe you can talk about this as well, because you would have a bit of an opinion maybe on this. But the question is, do you think Kaze will get the BnTeT treatment, which would presumably be meaning that he would get transferred over to a European or North American team? So let's go with you first, Bleh, because I know you're a big fan of Kaze.
It's not going to happen for various reasons, and I'm going to bring up a reason which I haven't really brought up in a long ever actually publicly, but it has been spoken to me by various sources. And listen, I like Kaze. Like, he's a very quiet, unassuming guy, and he is an incredibly skilled, gifted player. Can't take that away from him. But he also has a lack of motivation, from what I've heard. I know it sounds weird, playing for a team like Vici, but he's the sort of guy who's just going to be very happy with the paycheck he's receiving from Vici. He's in Asia. He's comfortable with the culture, the food, whatever you want to call it. He also has Chinese roots, if I'm not mistaken. So it's comfortable, in China. Plus, he can always travel back to Malaysia and all of that. He's very comfortable where he is, and I think he lacks that drive that someone like BnTeT had, or someone like certain other players in Asia has. So even if given the opportunity, firstly, the org needs to say yes, but I also feel like Kaze would be like, I don't think he'd fight for it. I think it'd kind of be like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. I'm happy here. I'm getting my paycheck. He's not really aiming from there. He's very happy just being over here. I'm not just talking about with money, but I'm also talking about with where he is in Counter-Strike as a whole. So even though BnTeT and Kaze were spoken about at the same level, where BnTeT's amazing, but Kaze is great as well, I disagree. I think BnTeT was always way more hungrier than Kaze ever was, and I think that'll always be the case.
Okay, well then let's give you a chance here, because I don't know how much you might have played against BnTeT. You've obviously played a lot against Kaze in recent times, but BnTeT was kind of hitting his peak when you were obviously still here in ANZ. So do you have much of a take on this?
Yeah, I think just my opinion, I agree with Bleh. BnTeT is just like, he's super good. Like, he has that motivation, he has that hunger. I think that's I actually have no idea about Kaze, but just from the vibe, I just get that vibe from BnTeT when he even would talk with him. He had that, like, you look at him in his eyes, he has that stare of like,
He's
I want
intense.
to be the best look. So I agree with Bleh just because of his eyesight.
All right, cool. I mean, I think that's still something to sort of, sometimes you can just tell, like when you talk to a person or you interact with them, you're like, this guy's the real fucking deal. Anyway,
Yeah.
So second question then, and it's not related to Kaze, is if Ignis, which is the Japanese team, signed up for the PAL Asia Qualifier, which is the RMR tournament that we sort of talked about in the last thing, which Tiger's invited to, interestingly, what are the chances that they get into the Asia League proper if they don't bump into BTRG? So I guess the question here is how likely is it that Ignis will qualify for PAL if they tried to enter the qualifier? Now, I'm just trying to think, like, what teams do they have to go through that aren't invited? I think Sigma's one of them.
Yeah.
BTRG, definitely another one. Bren. So there's a few teams. I don't know if there's any more, maybe. But those three definitely going to be hard.
Throw in a couple of Chinese teams as well. Any Chinese teams.
No, but the Chinese qualifiers separate. Remember that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And no Koreans, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there could be Koreans, but they're not going to be the Koreans, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm going to say Sigma and Bren are quite solid opposition for a team like Ignis. It's not going to be easy, in my opinion. I think Erkast could probably know a few more teams than we do, actually, because he's playing more there.
Was Paper Rex a discussion in there as well?
I don't think I think Ignis can potentially take them on, if you ask me right now.
Okay. What do you think, Erk?
I don't think they can make it, to be honest.
Yeah. It just
There's
doesn't seem like
a lot of teams like practicing really hard for that slot right now. Like we in the like screen group, and like even with this screen team, like a lot of new teams like trying new stuff. So I don't think, like, I didn't see them for a while, even in scrims. We didn't scrim for a while, but yeah, I haven't seen them for a while. So even like from the previous experience, they didn't seem like really like scary.
What about
scary comes from two stuff, in my opinion. Like not from it's. I think it's fact. You have to have really good tactic. Also, you have to have really good individual skill, like where you just feel around and then just like, boom. I don't think they have that individual skill part. They have a really good tactic.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think of the old Japanese teams? So like Absolute, because you would have played against them at Extremes Land, for example, and
at the minor as well, I think.
I think I never played Absolute.
Okay.
Ever. To be honest, yeah.
Did you ever? Were you ever like maybe afraid of them, or did you not really think that they were much of a threat?
I wouldn't say I was never afraid, but I was like, I knew like they were a good team in Asia. So like if I was playing them tomorrow, like I would prepare for sure.
Sure.
Don't take them easy kind of team.
Well, good context then. And thanks for the question, Murazrai. I believe it's kind of hard for us to kind of comment on the Japanese region at the moment because we just haven't seen any of the Japanese teams playing. Like, obviously, short of Absolute quitting and going to Valorant, it seems like Japanese CSGO has kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, even though Ignis is sort of still hanging around a little bit. I haven't personally seen them playing in anything too noteworthy.
I feel like Japanese CS has always been like about 10 people for the past 5 or 6 years. I mean, Japan as a whole, when it comes to esports, are more of the FGC oriented sort of guys, right?
Rainbow Six.
It's kind of interesting. Like when you speak of Japan and you look at video games and esports, everyone from the West is like, oh, they must be massive in esports. They're not really. They're more about entertainment when it comes to video. They're a very big video gaming country, but it's not about competitive video games. Yeah, they have FGC, a couple of few teams here and there, Overwatch, Rainbow Six, Counter-Strike, but it was never big. So I guess that's kind of like something, a myth that we need to kind of dispel, that Japanese esports as a whole has never really been big. And I guess those guys, absolute guys, that was the peak for Japanese CS. It looked promising, but I agree with Erkast. They don't have that raw firepower. They have good ideas and they have moments where they pop off. But man for man, I think like the fourth best Chinese team would just steamroll them on a decent day.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree with you. But I guess it is what it is. It sort of, to me, feels like the Japanese scene is a smaller version of the Korean scene, in that, like, Korean CS had 2, maybe 3 pretty good teams that could challenge back in the day, whereas Japan had like 1 or 2 potentially, and now, like, there's neither scene really seems like it has a super solid team at the moment. So that's, I guess, those couple of questions then put to bed. Again, thank you for the question, Murazrai. And if we, if you guys have any questions, you can let us know in the YouTube comments and we'll answer them in future episodes. Would love to hear your questions. Speaking of, we have one more question maybe a couple more questions here for Erkast, but they're not as related to anything serious. Pili, obviously not on this episode, did want to have his 2 cents here. So, you obviously played with Pilski in a team when you first came to Australia, which I think most people probably don't know. He seems to be very proud of his accomplishments playing with you. The fact that he even played with you seems to be like, the highlight of his career almost. Anyway, he wants to know, how does it feel to go from moving to Australia and losing a CGI quarterfinal with Pili to becoming one of the best teams in Asia?
Well, feels, to be honest, really good. But back in the day, like, I was really upset. I was really sad to Pili and Gods because they dogged us.
Really?
Yeah, but as a person, like, I learned a lot from them. Like I mentioned before, like I learned how to communicate with each other. They were like really calm when it comes, like, like free versus free situation. Bomb was dropped in front of you, you just and then died. That was like, most players went through that period. And then, like, when I saw them playing, they were like on the situation. They were like really calm, and then like, okay, you smoke there, I'll pick up the bomb. I'll plant it for you, bro. Okay, nice. Or like, I really enjoyed like playing with him because I learned a lot of stuff. But he dogged me.
So did he kick you from his team, or did he just like leave you?
I think we were like in climax, or climax is basically Corvette, right?
Yeah.
We were like in Corvette. That was my first team in Australia, and then we were like with Straxmore, Steege, and Guts and Pili.
Mm-hmm.
And Pili joined after Gods, I think. Pili was just like kind of just like slightly joined because he was a good player.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he was like in our level. And then he just played there. And then he, I think, teamed up with Gods and created another team.
Yeah, he might have gone to Avant. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, he went to Avant with Has.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact Avant team, but I remember Pili being on it. Yeah, Cruden sounds alright.
Cruden, Has, and then there was someone else. I forgot.
Anyway, it doesn't matter too much. The point is that he dogged you, and fuck you, Pili.
Yeah, of course he would.
If you're watching this,
fuck you, but
give him a
you
fuck
dogged me.
Yeah, fuck you, Pili.
Yeah, that's what I think anyway. Okay, well, Bleh, do you have any like random questions that you want to ask Erk before I sort of do the final question?
Nothing special. Okay. What was it like? I think what are your happiest memories? And this is not like related to winning events or qualifying, but what was it like playing that Grayhound roster? Because it looked like you guys always seemed to be having fun, and I'm not just talking about Dick Stacy, but as a team as a whole, right? Like whenever I used to meet you guys every time in all the minors, even in the Dubai, in that Abu Dhabi event as well. You guys are just like chilling and just having fun. So how was it like playing with these guys?
It was actually like probably like best time of my life in Australia. Like starting from Grayhound, from meeting Will. So it was just nice, like we were just a bunch of friends playing CS, and then it was just the best moment. I actually miss those days where, not like in-game wise, I just miss the days where we're just like hanging around, just talking shit,
But if you ever met them at an Asia Minor, you'd fuck them up, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. Or maybe you'd get fucked up. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day.
But you know what was the happiest moment in their time? Like, it's like not like the happiest, but it's like really like golden. I don't know how to
Rose
explain it.
tinted glasses, maybe.
In Montpellier, right? We went to like France for Pro League.
Mm-hmm.
It was like there was a after party from the hotel. It was like 2 hour walk, right? And it was like in the 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning. It was like just completely dark. And Dexter and I walked from the after party to hotel just together, like next to beach, right? It was like kind of romantic, but no homo, right? It's like bro romantic, romantic.
Okay, well,
Romantic.
And then it was like,
I needed that story. I needed that story in my life.
and then
That's
it was because like he knew I was leaving soon, and then I know I was leaving, and we were like talking about, okay, bro, we were just talking, like we were both quite drunk, and then we were just talking about CS life and then our future, and we were like, okay, bro, after Pro League, it's the major, man. Let's go, bro. One last ride, and then we were just like fist bumping and talking for 2 hours. Oh man, that was like so nice. Hey, I was like, damn, I actually get to know Chris a lot back then. Like just for the 2 hours, we were just, it was like so weird,
I know what's going to be my preview for this episode. It's going to be Erkast be talking about no homo with Dexter.
Yeah, it was like, I think like that was like, there was obviously a lot of like good memories there, but that was like when Bleh told me like memory, like that just came to my mind straight away, because that was like golden for me,
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, good times.
Hopefully we'll see we'll see something maybe with you guys joining up forces again one day. Would be cool.
or maybe, I don't know, like they face off in the same tournament, then there's both the teams qualify, and then there's an after party after that. Might see another.
Cool,
might see another fist in there somewhere. Who knows where, but it might go somewhere. Anyway, okay. Well, let's start to wrap this up. Final question, Erk. I mean, I guess this is kind of similar to Blair's question, but what's the thing that you miss most about Australia that isn't a Woolworths chicken?
Okay. I guess just the whole like condition of it. The people, the coffee shops. Those like there's like I think just overall the environment. I would say we just have like a bunch of friendly people, and then you just have nice coffee, nice food. I think I just miss that.
Yeah. You just miss Australia. It seems like really.
Yeah. I do.
All right. Well, I think that'll be a good way to end the episode here for Geographically Challenged.
That's what you wanted to hear. Now you're like, feels
yes.
good, man.
Feels good. Erkast is still an Australian. Actually, speaking of, this is the first episode of Geographically Challenged that we've had. All three or all guests have been in different countries, which I think is really cool. I don't know, just me. Because every other one has had me and Pili, and we've been both in Australia. But either way, yeah, that's the end of episode number 10. Wow. I didn't think we would get to 10, to be honest, so I'm pretty impressed. Good job, Bleh, and Pili, who's not here. And thanks for coming on, Erkast. So let's start with Erkast today. What do you want to shout out? Do you want to shout out your Twitter? Do you want to do anything? Or do you want to just say, Elfishguy, you're the best?
Okay, Elfishguy, you're the best.
All right, there you go. And that's where you can find Erkast down on his Twitter, right below his head. Erkast CSGO. Be sure to give him a follow, and be sure to support Tiger as well in all of their sort of pursuits, because they are one of our favorite teams to watch in the Asia region. Bleh, it's your turn.
Well, there's all of the usual, hire us guys, hire Elfishguy, Pili, and me, you cunts. But this time around, I'm going to switch it out a little bit. Invite Tiger, you cunts, is what I'm going to be saying. I mean, I think they deserve to be hired. I think we need to end on that note. They deserve to be picked more for events, invited to more events. I think that's something I want to end the episode on.
Definitely agree with you as well. And that is going to be the end of the episode. So thanks very much, guys, for watching. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you sub, and send us your questions for next week as well in the YouTube comments, because I'm enjoying answering the viewer questions. But that is it. We'll see you next time.